What up, everybody? Welcome to a Week 10 edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I am your host here for the next half hour. Yeah, EmersonLotzia, surrounded by dudes who are here to help all of you guys and gals make some money. DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan, VSiN's Josh Applebaum over here, and the Tom Brady of our team, Julian Edlow.
Welcome back.
Guy has a kid, spends 2 weeks with his family, then immediately returns to work.
I was wondering where you were going with it.
Yeah, I mean, I nailed it, did I not? It is good to have you back.
It's like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you made it longer than Tom Brady did. Let's dive into some betting trends here, everybody. Betting trends to keep in mind ahead of today's main slate before we get into y'all's best bets. So the under has hit 58% of the time at Arrowhead Stadium with Andy Reid. That's a beefy total today, too, guys, against the Jags. Colts 0-9 against the first half spread this season. Maybe Jeff Saturday and his 30-year-old offensive coordinator can change that in Vegas. And non-primetime Kirk Cousins. I'm talking in games at 1 o'clock Eastern time or earlier. The man isn't all that bad at covering the spread. By the way, Vikings and Bills, the only game today featuring two teams with winning records. Josh Allen expected to play. The betting market is most definitely reacting to that. We'll get into that game coming up. But time for you guys to share with us your best bets. So, Steve, your record remains perfect. Right. Seattle coming through for you last week, pushing your record now to 8-0. Another win for Josh last week. You're now sitting at 5-2-1. All right, Jules. It was a push for you last week. You're now at 5-3-1, but shout out to you for still sending in your bets while away on paternity leave.
I'm very committed, Emerson.
Yes, you definitely are, and we love that
Not
about
all
you.
are, but some are.
Bukes, who are you looking at today to keep your record unblemished?
I'm going with the Giants with the points here against the Houston Texans.
Oh, okay.
I mean, look, at this rate, the Houston Texans are just a tough team that you can trust. Now, you know, some may say, well, they're actually pretty good against the spread. They're 4-3-1 against the spread. And that's fine and all, and I understand that, but they're covering when they're 7.5-point underdogs or higher. They're not covering these close spreads here. They pushed on a +3, lost a 5.5, lost a +7, and a +1. So now we have the Giants coming in here fully healthy, and they're going to have to deal with Saquon Barkley, who is in one of the best matchups all season long. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when Derrick Henry and I had his rushing prop against the Houston Texans. That was one of the wins. You were asking where all these wins are coming from. That was one of the wins.
I am very curious where they keep coming from.
This is just a huge spot for Saquon Barkley. This Texans run defense has been so poor. They lead the league in missed tackles at this rate. They just can't tackle these big, huge men that are coming through the middle of the field. That's what they're going to get with Saquon Barkley here. I like getting this under a touchdown here. I think the Giants should win this game fairly easily here. So odd number here at -5, but I have no problem taking the points here with the Giants, who have also been very good against the spread so far this season.
Yeah, what do you think here, Jules? Because Houston's been a solid bet this season as a road team, covering 66.7% of their games on the road this season.
I just told you why.
Houston took sharp money. I mean, Houston was 6.5, 7, and they took sharp money in this game. Bettors are going to keep, particularly professional bettors, are going to keep going against the Giants, especially with the reputation that they've now built up as a quote-unquote good team. And this is a spot where if the Giants are a good team at 6-2, they're going to have to win and cover in this spot. I lean to the Giants. I think they're safe where the number was as a teaser leg and now as a money line parlay piece. That 4.5, 5 is always kind of no man's land. So it's a weird spread. I do think the Giants should win this game, and it's because, like Steve said, what the rushing attack should do. You know, after we put best bets in, I have a side, but Steve and I were talking about rushing props. Saquon Barkley, long rushing attempt over 18.5. Yeah. We can call this one a best bet if we want. Houston's given up a long run of over 18.5 yards in 6 of their last 7 games. Giving up a $180 on a game on the ground. Like, Barkley's going to feast. The Giants should win this game. Maybe Houston sticks around.
Yeah, Texans won't suddenly correct their run defense for Saquon Barkley.
No.
Josh, what's your best bet today?
So my best bet, I'm going to go to the primetime game. Give me the under in this one here, Emerson. We have the 49ers and the Chargers. A lot of sharp money hit this under. It opened as high as like 47.5. You're all the way down now to 45. You might be able to shop around and find a hook there with a 45.5. But a couple things going on this year in the NFL. Dogs and unders. It's been great for contrarian bettors. The public loves betting favorites and overs, Emerson, but it's been these dogs and unders, around 60% each, doing very well this year. This is kind of a blueprint play for me. If you look at unders that fall at least a half point, just some recognition of some sharp action hitting the under, they're 45 and 25 this year, 64%. Prime time unders in particular, when the public only has one game to choose from and they load up on the over typically, Primetime unders are 19 and 9, 68%. Then also you look at the bet percentages here from DraftKings. Only 41% of bets on the under, but 66% of dollars. I love that split. Give me the under 45 in primetime.
It's going to be the first game that Jimmy G will have Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell, George Kittle, and Kyle Juszczyk all available. Jules, hook us up with your best bet, please.
Going with the Pittsburgh Steelers money line here. The Saints, first of all, Steelers coming off a bye. Tomlin off a bye. It hasn't been a good year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they're now without Fitzpatrick too in the secondary.
Right.
They do get Watt back, and they are at home. The Saints short week. The Saints took a lot of sharp money on Monday Night Football against the Ravens, and it just wasn't even close. The public Ravens were the right side. The Saints just aren't very good. Now they're going to go on the road on a short week to Pittsburgh, who's had plenty of time to prepare for this game. I like the spot for the Steelers a lot at home here. And then Tomlin in his career, obviously familiar with Andy Dalton from that AFC North division. The Steelers have dominated Andy Dalton throughout his career, and here he is starting on the road in Pittsburgh yet again. It's not the classic Steelers defense that we're used to here, but it's decent, and they're getting their defensive player of the year back. I think the Saints are just going to continue to struggle, and Pittsburgh, with that time off, will be capable of doing enough on offense to win what's going to be an ugly game.
Yeah, New Orleans also has the worst turnover differential in the NFL. You like
That'll
that
do it.
bet.
I really like that bet, Julian. Yeah, and welcome back, my man. We missed you the last couple of weeks, so
Thank
it's
you.
good to see you. But
Good
I'm
to
with
be back.
Julian
All of
100%. You have a public play here on New Orleans, yet the Saints a couple days ago were laying 3. Now you're down to a pick 'em. Some shops are even -1 Pittsburgh. That's a really sharp reverse line move. Watt coming back is huge. I'd be money lining Pittsburgh now at this point.
I mean, Pittsburgh has just one win in its last 7 games while going 2-4-1 ATS during that stretch. You three, stay right there. It's time for a quick break. Coming up next, we're going to find out which games and storylines you three are sweating, how much Josh Allen's injury is maybe complicating things for bettors. After this break. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this week, new customers can bet $5 on any team and pocket $200 in free bets if their moneyline bet wins. Download the app and use the promo code SWEAT when you sign up. All right, back here on your screen, it's The Sweat presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I am your host, Emerson-Lotzia. So DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow, VSiN's Josh Applebaum, they're hanging out at the big screen because it's time to find out what they're sweating. So what they're giving some extra thought to before placing their bets. Jules, I'll start with you. This Josh Allen elbow injury has been a hot topic of conversation all week. So the spread opened at 9.5 for this game against the Vikings, fell to 3, now back up to what, 7? So now that he's expected to start, like, how much are you sweating Josh Allen and the Bills offense in this one?
If I'm a Bills fan or a Bills futures bettor, I'm sweating this a lot and hoping that the Bills are making the right decision because they have a very capable veteran quarterback that could have been in a revenge spot against his former team in Case Keenum going up against the Vikings in a really good game with two good teams, the only game of the week seemingly with two good teams going against each other. So I'm really sweating it in terms of, are the Bills making the right decision, right? And it's amazing what it's done for the line in this game. I was fully ready to give my best bet. Case Keenum, -2.5, Bills against the Vikings. That was going to be it. And then Josh Allen, we get news that Josh Allen's probably going to play, goes back up to a touchdown. I'd be sweating almost any side I had in this game because a lot of people have a bad number. A lot of people have a good number. I would almost rather have the Bills. I have the Bills -3 personally. I would almost rather have that with Keenum because what is Allen going to look like playing the first game hurt?
Yeah, I think that's your question here, Emerson. You know, will Allen be at full strength? To me, this is just fascinating from a betting perspective, also a middling perspective.
Yep.
And one thing pros love to do is find a juicy middle where you can high water and low water mark a line. I mean, Emerson told us this thing opened at -9.5 Bills. It got all the way down to 2.5 or 3. Imagine if you were a bettor that got the +9.5 or some big number early with the Vikings. You could bottom mark what Julian did, basically the -2.5, 3. That's a massive middle to cash there.
Huge
but
key numbers.
At this point, exactly, going through multiple key numbers. At this point, I would still lean Vikings in this one, even if Allen is playing. A lot of these books are up to 7, but if you look at the juice on these +7s with the Vikings, they're +7, -115, -120. So that tells me it could be getting down to 6.5. Cousins is 58% against the spread as a dog of 3 or more. I'm going to bet against this banged up Josh Allen. I'll take the +7 with the Vikes.
All right, guys. Well, no one has blown more 3-score leads in the NFL than the Raiders. So who just put Hunter Renfrow, by the way, and Darren Waller in injured reserve. So on the other side of this game, you have Jeff Saturday making his head coaching debut. Inexperienced Jeff Saturday. We mentioned earlier in the show there's a 30-year-old kid who is going to be calling the offensive plays for the Colts, an offense that's ranked dead last in points per game. So what are you sweating here, Josh?
So I'd be sweating the Colts side, Emerson. You know, I think obviously for Josh McDaniels, this is huge. I mean, there's rumors that if he loses this one, he could be fired. So I think there's a lot of pressure on McDaniels here. You mentioned Emerson, a lot of these guys are out, a lot of injuries. Blake Martinez was a guy they picked up. He just retired out of nowhere here. But look at it from a betting perspective. You go just a couple days ago, you know, this line was as high as, you know, Colts getting 6. Now you're down to 4. The line's continuing to go here toward the Colts. I'd be looking at the Colts here plus the points. You do sometimes get a boost when you fire your head coach. Saturday may not be an X's and O's guy, but maybe he just gives them a little bit of juice here. Jonathan Taylor should be able to go. I'll grab the 4 here with the Colts.
This is one of the weirdest spots of the week, along with, you know, the roller coaster ride that was Bills-Vikings, but that was clearly because of the injury news on Josh Allen. This is because we don't know what to make of Jeff Saturday, who knows what his qualifications for this job are. But like you said, Josh, maybe he's a rah-rah guy and he sparks this team this week. We don't know. But what I do know is that each week the Raiders kind of need to come out and show something, especially now after a loss to Jacksonville. We talked about it in trends. Indy is 0-9 first half ATS this season. I did bet Raiders -3 first half in this game, and maybe the Colts come back and cover the game. I'm not touching the Raiders for a game at this point. I just think to come out, the Raiders at home have to come out and show something. And the Colts, they might be in a little over their heads. We'll see how Jeff Saturday is able to start this game. We'll see how this rookie young play caller is able to call this game. I would be if I'm the Colts, I don't know what the message is to the team. They've almost made moves that indicate that they would be tanking the rest of the season. Maybe they don't even want this game. So I think that there's a lot to be sweating from both sides. What I do know is that the Raiders and Josh McDaniels coaching for his job, whereas Jeff Saturday, he doesn't really need to do anything in this game. He just kind of has to see what he has in his team.
Well, Jules, you know it's bad in Green Bay when Lil Wayne has thrown in the towel. So
Darn.
He's given up on his Packers. Now Dallas is shockingly more than a field goal favorite at Lambeau Field. This is the return of Super Bowl winning coach Mike McCarthy as well. You give it a little extra thought as to why this spread is now 4 points, just 4 points here on the DK Sportsbook. Considering Aaron Rodgers and company, they're losing by an average of 8 points an outing during this 5-game skid.
Yeah, I can't touch this one. You know, we came in this morning, we had our pre-production meeting. This game came up. I said, Josh, your best bet is the Packers, isn't it? Because I know Josh is going to give those. Josh is going to give those numbers going against the public, a fishy line, you know, a public favorite, and the Packers fit everything that's against that. This dog that has not played well. Now, if you want to go to like look-ahead lines, I'm sure there's plenty of value on Green Bay here. This was supposed to be a huge game, Dallas at Lambeau. But what the Packers have looked like lately, no matter how sharp they are, I can't touch them. But I'm not gonna lay it with the favorite. In my mind, it's like, why should the Cowboys not dominate this game, given how good they've been all along and the struggles that Green Bay has had? So, very fishy line. It's gonna be pros versus Joes for sure, and it's one that I just can't be a part of because the dog is a little too smelly for me in the pub, and the favorite seems a little too easy.
Josh, 76% of the bets, too, in this one are on the Cowboys.
And that's
I would think higher. I would think 80, 90.
And this is why it's fascinating to me, and Julian hit the nail on the head. I'm definitely not going to take the Cowboys. Now, they win and cover. It's going to be like, why didn't you play the better team against a team that's really struggled here? But my angle would be the fact that you have, as what Emerson just said, 3 out of 4 bets are here taking the Cowboys, seeing an easy winner here, betting against Aaron Rodgers. What's the market telling us? If you go just a couple days ago, this was Cowboys laying 5. Now it's down to some shops. I'm even seeing like 3.5 right now. So this is one of those games that you don't feel right or you don't feel good about it, from an eye perspective, eye test.
Yep.
But from a betting market perspective, I got to trust the numbers. I got to trust the market. Looks like sharps are on the Packers. I'd take the 3.5 with Green Bay.
All right, gentlemen, good stuff. We got to take a break coming up. We're diving even deeper into the DK Sportsbook props department. Steve Buchanan will return and offer up some comic relief for us after this 135-second break. All right, back here on a potentially award-winning edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm EmersonLotzia. This guy is Steve Buchanan. This man is here to provide us all right now with some comic reliefs. This is a fun little segment. Yeah, hopefully you
I didn't know that.
You looked at the rundown. All right, so this is a segment called Prop Comedy, right?
Yeah.
So which player props are just laughable here to you? And all of a sudden, Justin Fields is the Bears quarterback of the future. He's averaging more than 100 yards on the ground. That's over his last 4 games, which is way over his rushing yards prop of 62.5 versus the line. So how laughable of a number is this, dude?
I think we have a nice laugh track that we can play to go
Hopefully.
with this.
Samir was supposed to do it.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
what
I don't know if this was done or not, but we'll play that laugh track. Is it playing? Did it play? Okay, great. Good. We heard it. Okay, this is laughable at this point. Here's the thing that's actually also amusing: is the Detroit Lions have allowed the 4th most quarterback rushing yards in the league. They really haven't even played any mobile quarterbacks. Really, the only ones that they've played thus far has been Jalen Hurts and Tua. And Tua didn't even really run that much in that game. But you look at, let's go even further. The last 6 games for Justin Fields, averaging over 84 rushing yards per game. He has been unlocked. The Bears are like, oh, you know what? We actually forgot how talented this guy is on the ground, and now they're designing him to run the ball in the end zone. Overall here, he's run the ball at least 7 times in those games, those last 6 games. They're double digits, 3 of the last 4. Huge spot for him today.
I mean, he's rushed for no fewer than 60 yards in a game since week 6. So wheels up for that dude today. America's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chiefs. There's shootout potential here, dude. Travis Etienne has a rushing yards prop of 80.5. Yeah, the question is how many points are going to come from the visiting side.
Right.
So that's a mark, that 80.5. That's a mark he's eclipsed now in 4 straight games. Is this number straight comedy to you?
I wouldn't say this is straight comedy. I think this is actually set pretty well. Here's the thing. Since Etienne has come over with the Jaguars, he's seen a huge amount of touches at this point. The last 2 games, 57 touches now.
James Robinson out of town now?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need no one needed James Robinson. That's obviously for sure. The Chiefs allow a ton of rushing yards and just overall production against running backs. I mean, 4.7 yards per carry to opposing running backs. Here's the thing, though. Are the Jaguars going to be able to rush the ball enough? What if the Chiefs just blow this game out? Because that's obviously the potential here. The spread here is at minus 8.5 here, so there is that blowout potential. But if they are going to run the ball, it's probably also to slow this Chiefs team down. They're one of the fastest-paced teams in the league. They're averaging 30.4 plays per game. That's the highest in the NFL right now. So I wouldn't say it's laughable. Does he have the talent to do so against his defense? Absolutely. But with that being said, is he going to have the opportunities to do that? Because this Chiefs team could potentially blow out the Jaguars. So I would say this is priced right. I'm not laughing at this one here, but I think it's actually in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, Chiefs have allowed the starting running back to go over that number in 3 of the last 4 games there too. And Patrick Mahomes will stick with this game right now. He threw the ball 68 times last week, and somehow his arm did not fall off. His attempts prop today is set at 38.5. Is that laughably high or low to you?
I would say it's a little bit laughable. We can put the laugh track on for this one here. I mean, he's averaging 41 per game at this point, but they're 8.5-point favorites, like you just mentioned here. He has gone under this total only 3 times this season, but even back in week 1 when they faced the Arizona Cardinals, you know, they won by 23 points, and he still threw the ball 39 times. It's actually kind of crazy to think about that. And even last week against the Titans, they were double-digit favorites in that one. And in a game where we expected the Chiefs to absolutely blow this one out, he threw the ball, you know, tied for the 3rd most pass attempts ever. Like, it's kind of insane that happened there. This is the 2nd biggest spread that they've had all season since trailing last week. So this is one where I think the Chiefs, again, like I mentioned, there is blowout potential in this one here. But with the amount that they're going to throw the ball, even if they're ahead, as evidenced against that Cardinals game, I think this is laughable. I think he easily goes over 38 pass attempts in this game.
Yeah, because you start to wonder maybe the Chiefs try to emphasize the running game early on to protect Patrick Mahomes, like after last week's overtime escape versus Tennessee. Got one more for you. So first season with the Dolphins here, Tyreek Hill is on pace to become the league's first 2,000-yard wideout. It's unbelievable. His receiving yards prop right now on DK Sportsbook, 94.5. How about Jalen Waddle, who's gone, over 80 in his last 4? That's set at 69.5. Dare I say that these are laughably high, considering just one wide receiver has gone over 65 yards versus the Browns since week 4.
I wouldn't say that this is laughable because for as good as Tyreek has been, that's still a huge number to eclipse when you think about it here too. The good thing about Tyreek Hill's matchup today, he is going to avoid Denzel Ward when he goes into the slot. Denzel Ward does not travel to the slot. He's been playing that about 33% of his snaps all season long. So that's going to be a matchup that they're going to be able to exploit. The other thing is too is that when you look at how good this defense has been for the Browns secondary, it's not like they've had a schedule where they've had to play all these, you know, unbelievable offenses. I've seen the Patriots, a banged-up Chargers team, the Steelers, Jets, Panthers, like all teams that you don't look at and go, look at these offensive juggernauts coming up against the Browns. That does not happen. So I think this secondary has been good, sure, but the matchups that they had also don't really exploit how bad they can be. And I think that's where this matchup, we are going to exploit this one here. For me to say Tyreek's going to go over that number, I don't think it's egregious, but again, it's also a huge number to overcome, and with how involved Jalen Waddle also is as well. So I would say this is priced pretty well.
All right, thank you. You were funny. You were really, really funny in that
segment.
I think
so, yeah.
It's time for our final break of the show, though. So I need you to stay right there because coming up next, we're exploring some of these Sunday specials available on the DraftKings Sportsbook when the sweat, presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook, continues. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this week, new customers can bet $5 on any team and pocket $200 in free bets if their moneyline bet wins. Download the app and use the promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
Michael, Sunday Night Football.
All right, gentlemen, let's dive right into those Sunday specials here. Steve, what do you like on the DK Sportsbook?
Yeah, we talked about this game a lot in the last segment there. Patrick Mahomes to throw for over 300 passing yards, and ETN rushing touchdown, getting that at plus 310.
Josh, where you going?
I'm going to go Derrick Henry here. Over 100 plus rushing yards, 1 TD or more. He's first in the NFL in rushing yards, second in TDs. He's going up against Denver, who's the 21st yards per game allowed rushing. Give him 123 a game. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. 100 yards, at least a TD.
All right, Jules, you're going to the game of the day.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Game of the week in Buffalo. The two best receivers on the field, Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson, each to score a receiving touchdown, plus 330. I think they both find the end zone.
All right, guys. By the way, is anyone here betting the Eagles to go undefeated? 17-0 season, plus 900 on the DK Sportsbook, little special right now?
No thanks.
It's not happening?
I'll take a shot.
All
Let's
right,
go,
there
let's
he
go.
is, my man. All right, that's it. That's a show, everybody. We'll keep this baby going here over on our DraftKings social channels, so YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all that fun stuff. We're talking tons of fantasy as well, so if you need help with those lineups, join us. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Sweat. We're going to dive back into a bunch of sportsbook odds and all that fun stuff over on the DK Sportsbook coming up. But right now there is a Millie Maker available on DraftKings. Anyone who feels like building a money-making lineup here for Week 10 for the main slate, I highly recommend you listen to Miss Jessie Cofield back in the house, and
Yes.
Jeff Ulrich as well, our Canadian Prince of Poutine.
Jeff Ulrich is here as well. It's going to be a $20 entry into that Millie Maker, $3.5 million total in prizes up for grabs. So Jeff, let's talk about your favorite players at each position here. Start with quarterback. You're going with Russell Wilson here, which I was shocked about, hoping he's wearing his wristband. Also, I did talk to your buddy Steve Buchanan about it, and he said, actually, this is a great spot for Russ. So you're onto something.
It is. Steve's a smart guy. I've always liked Steve. He's always been my favorite person at the company. Look, how quickly we forget, Jesse. Weeks 4 and weeks 5, this Tennessee defense allowed 350 yards and 2 touchdowns to Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz, 2 people who aren't even starting for their teams right now. So yes, it's a very good matchup. And the one thing we're talking about, look, we're talking about the big Millionaire Maker contest people. You're going up against 200,000 people or over 100,000 people. Everyone is playing Patrick Mahomes to Justin Fields this week. There's going to be little to no ownership on Russ. He's under 6K in price. He's got Greg Dulcich. His yards per attempt were up in his last outing as well. I think this is a great spot for, Russell Wilson to potentially throw the ball 35, 40 times. Teams are averaging over 40 pass attempts against Tennessee Titans. I think Patrick Mahomes threw the ball, 68 times last time that we saw the Titans. So, yeah, I think Russell Wilson is a great contrarian tournament play. You got to plug your nose and take a shot on one of these veteran quarterbacks today. I think as a contrarian play, I think Wilson is the spot to do it.
All right, for running back, you're going with Travis Etienne. All right, in the Jags win over the Raiders, he earned a career-high 28 rushing attempts, also topped 100 rushing yards for the 3rd consecutive game. Pretty good.
Yeah, Etienne is just a player. I mean, I've said it all week. You just keep playing him until he gets up to $8,000. I love this spot for him as well. I mean, the Jaguars as an offense, over their last 3 games, only 2 teams have rushed for a better yards per carry. And one of those teams was the Chicago Bears, who have a guy who's just lighting up the league right now, Justin Fields. But Travis Etienne, I mean, top 6 in yards after contact, run plays of 10 yards or more. And this is a player who wasn't playing much at the start of the year. You have to remember. I mean, Jacksonville not only rushing the ball well, but we've also seen from the Kansas City rush defense, they're not so hot. They're ninth worst, in terms of yards per carry allowed over their last 3 games. So this is a rush defense that's been regressing. It just got beat up by Derrick Henry. Now you've got Etienne at 7,100 in a main carry role, team that's rushing the ball extremely well. I think the Jags are going to keep this game close, and I think Etienne at 7,100, extremely good play this week.
All right, Jeff, you like Jalen Waddle at wide receiver. Going into a pretty good matchup against the Browns, and I mean, Waddle's just a top 5 receiver in yards.
I mean, exactly. I mean, like, you look at the 2 Miami wide receivers, and yes, Tyreek Hill, we're talking about fantasy floor and like what he's going to give you. His target share is insane. But Jalen Waddle at 7,600 has had 2 games of over 33 DraftKings points already. His yards after the catch, right up there with Tyreek. This is an explosive player. And I like, again, you got to talk a little bit of strategy here. We're talking about millionaire maker plays. We're not talking about just who I think is like the best player. Jalen Waddle is going to be lower owned than Tyreek Hill. He's extremely just cost effective at 7,600. You're saving $1,500 off him. And the upside of these 2 players in this matchup are similar. I would even argue that Waddle is more likely to have the ceiling game because he's not going to be seeing Denzel Ward, who is back for the Browns. More likely that the Browns are going to be shifting their main coverage over to Tyreek Hill in this game. I think Waddle, and I think the whole entire Dolphins passing offense is in a good spot here. I think if you are going to eat the chalk with one of those top quarterbacks for a stack, it's with Tua. But pair him with Jalen Waddle, you're going to have a more unique stack. It's more cost effective. And I think that you're going to get a player who is just going to have a little bit more opportunity than people realize in this game.
All right, so I'm intrigued by your tight end pick. You're going with Robert Tonyan. He's 3,700. He's drawn at least 4 targets in his last 5 games. But the Dallas defense, they're going to be tough, and they have contained tight ends pretty well. But do you think Rodgers is just going to be forced to throw to him? It's like, who's he going to throw at wide receiver?
Jesse, you basically read my mind. This is exactly what I think is going to happen. I think that the Green Bay Packers, and I think that Aaron Rodgers is exactly going to have to throw the ball to Robert Tonyan a lot in this game. What do we know about the Dallas offense? They're quite efficient. They're going to be able to move the ball. It's not like the Green Bay Packers defense has been able to stop anyone on the ground or through the air. And, Robert Tonyan, the targets have gone up and down a little bit, but he's probably been the most consistent receiver in terms of usage for the Green Bay Packers. So in a game script here where I think Green Bay is going to have to throw the ball to move it, and just, obviously maybe even perhaps play a little bit of catch up, I think Tonyan's in a pretty good spot. And yeah, like Dallas has been pretty good against tight ends, but they allowed a touchdown to Cole Kmet last week. A couple games of a couple yardage totals of over 40 yards the week before to the Lions receivers at tight end. I think Tonyan's in a spot here to potentially just be a sneaky play. Again, we're talking about millionaire maker ownership, players you want low ownership on. I do like Greg Dulcich at 3,800. I like pairing him with Russell Wilson, but you want that low-owned play that I think has just as much potential. I think Tonyan's it at 3,700.
Speaking of low-owned plays, going with the Steelers DST here.
Yeah, early in the week, I was kind of interested in the Arizona Cardinals, but they're getting a lot of heat. Matthew Stafford banged up. I'm not sure if we have a confirmation on him yet. Anyways, it does sound like he was going to play last time I heard. But the Steelers in a good spot here. TJ Watt, their leader, back. I mean, they're at home. The Steelers secondary not been good, but I mean, like they're going up against Andy Dalton in this spot, a statuesque quarterback going to sit there in the pocket. They've got their main, pressure component back on the defensive line. I think that the Steelers at 2,800 are a really nice contrarian pick. Again, you don't want to take, if there's any position you don't want to eat the chalk on, it's defense. It's just so highly variable to scoring every week. The Steelers here, I think their defensive line is going to be able to get off here. Again, you don't have a mobile quarterback to worry about. Really, you don't have anything to worry about with Andy Dalton except how many picks he's going to throw. I think it's a spot where the Steelers can get multiple turnovers, perhaps even something crazy like a sack, fumble, touchdown.
All right, Jeff, good stuff. I need you to hang out for primetime picks, which is going to be coming up in just a little bit here. That is right after a healthy dose of profit. Every time I just feel like I'm saying the exact same word. It's Julian and Josh. You guys are going to predict which profitable trends continue this week.
Well, it is the same word, Jesse, except it's just spelled different. Profit, get it?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about some ways to hopefully make some profit here in the NFL, Josh. Let's start receiving props. Who's the most profitable receiver so far? Oh, definitely Tyreek Hill overs, right? He's having a legendary season. No, it's this man, Robert Woods unders. He is 7-1 to the under on his receiving prop this year. He's averaging 32 per game, obviously. The Titans haven't been bad. Malik Willis coming into the quarterback mix didn't help things. He had 2 targets, no receptions for a goose egg last week. Now we receive word that Ryan Tannehill back in for the Titans. Woods' prop was actually at 29.5. It's now up to 35.5 on DK Sportsbook. So this is going up. And I was going to say at 29.5, with Tannehill coming back, you can maybe interest me in an over there. Now at 35.5, I think it's about right. What do you think about Robert Woods' receiving prop? Because he has been going under all year long.
Couple big points here. Number one, with Tannehill in, that is a boost going from Willis to Tannehill. So makes sense that this thing would rise a little bit. But again, when you're betting on sports, it's not just what side you like, it's getting the best number. So Julian, to your point, open 29, now you're 35. If you're taking the over 35, you're kind of getting the worst of it. I'd kind of take the high water mark here. I'll take the under in this one. This is a pass defense that's done very well with Denver here. I'm not expecting a huge game out of Woods. I'd take the under and ride this trend.
I would look under as well, and especially we're talking that 5-yard move. We're not talking about a guy like Saquon Barkley who's going from like a 90 to 95 rushing yards. We're talking about 5 yards for a guy that was at less than 30. That is a huge chunk of the portion of the yardage needed. All right, I just mentioned the Giants. They're 6-2 against the spread. They host the Houston Texans, floating around 4.5, 5-point favorites. Came down from like a teaser leg at 6.5. Sharp money on Houston here. Do you expect the Giants to improve not only to 7-2 straight up, but 7-2 against the spread as home favorites?
So I got to admit the Giants have proved me wrong a couple times. Emerson, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Remember that game in Jacksonville where it was a big public play to the Giants. Jags were sharp. Giants came through, won the game here. Don't bring that up to Emerson. He'll get upset about that one. But to me, it's a bet against the Giants here. Again, putting your faith or kind of your confidence into the betting market. What's happening here? The line is falling away from the Giants here. They open at 1 point -6. You're down to 4.5. They're getting like 70-80% of bets here. If you look at the Texans, they're 1-6-1, but they're actually competitive. They covered on that primetime game, the big number. They're 4-3-1 ATS. If you look at Daniel Jones here, Julian, As a dog, he's been great, 61% ATS. As a favorite, he's just 3-6 against the spread. So again, do I love the Texans? No, but I got to go with the sharp move. I'll go Houston.
Well, unfortunately, you're wrong because the hottest trend in sports betting is that Steve Buchanan doesn't lose best bets on this show. That trend is 8-0, and Steve is on the Giants. So unfortunately, the Giants are going to win and cover this game. All right, a game that we have also talked about a lot on this show, Bills-Vikings. The spread has been all over the place. It's all due to Josh Allen, who officially is now active. What we haven't talked about in this game is the total. Tre'Davious White, actually one of the guys inactive for Buffalo now, maybe giving a better matchup to Justin Jefferson there on the road for Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. What do you make of this total? Because the Bills, great offensive team, but they've been going under all year long with that great defense.
They really have. They're great to the under so far this year, and that kind of goes to show that, hey, you want to sweat an over, it's more fun, but again, an under will cash the same kind of money that an over would here. So I'll still lean to the under here, Julian. We've seen unders in general just do great this year. It's kind of a contrarian angle here. You look at the percentages, only 29% of bets are on this under, but it's taking into account 60% of the money. So that tells me a lot of respected money here going under in this one. Also look at the weather, starting to get into the the winter, close to the winter, late fall here. If you look at Bills Mafia in that stadium, it's going to be about 32 degrees. It's going to be windy, 15 miles an hour. That wind and that cold could benefit the under. I'll take the under here.
Adam Schefter, blue checkmark, tweeted, Josh Allen is active, but he was not spotted on the field during pregame warmups. Maybe the Bills are being a little mysterious here about what they're doing.
Okay. +7 Vikings.
Let's see what happens with Josh Allen before we bet this game. But yes, I took some Bills -3 yesterday. I'll buy out of it if I feel like it. All right, that is profit. We are going to send things back to the desk where you'll find Emerson and Jesse.
Everybody has a blue check mark today.
Yeah, I was going to say,
can
I
buy
like that
one.
you said blue check mark because
It's, like,
It's only
doesn't
$8,
matter.
you know?
There's a bunch of Adam Schefter.
This is the real one. This is the
Adam
real
Schefter
one.
allegedly.
Sure, pal.
Allegedly.
Sure, pal. Anywho,
Whatever.
we have some intriguing Sunday night and Monday night games this week. So we're going to bring in Jeff Ulrich. He's going to dish out his primetime pick. So it's Commanders, Eagles tomorrow. Chargers visiting the 49ers tonight.
Yeah, but first, let's hear from Mike Lombardi on the GM Shuffle about last Sunday's primetime game between the Titans and Chiefs. Take a look.
Michael, Sunday Night Football, we saw the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Tennessee Titans 20-17 in overtime. Despite my love for that Dolphins-Bears game, I think this Sunday night game was probably my favorite game from the entire slate. Just the contrast in the styles between what Tennessee was doing and what Kansas City was doing. Titans almost pulling off the upset as 14-point dogs.
Well, I mean, look, if you don't think Mike Vrabel's a great coach, then you didn't watch the game last night. Now, think about this, Femi. Think about this for just a moment. With 5:24 to go in the second quarter, 5:24 to go in the second quarter, when they scored their 14th point, the Tennessee Titans went on to play another 9 minutes, then they played another 30 minutes, and then they played another, so they played 39 minutes of football and then say 4 minutes in overtime. So they played another 44 minutes of football, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They got one first down. And they got the game to overtime. And the only way the game got to overtime was because Mahomes had to make these incredible runs with his feet. Like that to me, I mean, they averaged 4.8 yards per play. I mean, it was a joke. The fact that Tennessee, after a game, I gave out Kansas City as one of my plays yesterday. I don't regret it. I really don't. I think it was the right play. I think I had the game handicapped perfectly because I didn't think Tennessee would move the ball. I didn't think they'd score 17 points. I grant you that. But I thought Kansas City would score 28, 30. I thought they would cover. I thought they would move the ball more effectively. I knew it would be hard, but I thought they would move it more effectively. But look, that was a great, great job by Mike Vrabel. My hat's off to him. What he was able to accomplish with no quarterback at all, none. Guy had what? What do you have? 6 completions in the game?
That's 5.
Had, 5. I mean, I don't know what to say.
We're going to get into some prime time picks with our buddy Jeff Ulrich.
Let's do it, man.
Coming up. We got the Chargers and the 49ers. These two teams against the spread, Chargers 5-3, SF 4-4. Over-under record, the Chargers going 4-4, SF 3-5. So we're going to see what our buddy Jeff thinks about all of that.
Yeah.
How you make sense of it.
Yep.
Jeff, looks like you're going with Justin Herbert for your captain in this one.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is going to be a high concentrated ownership on Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, we've got the 49ers as, touchdown or 7.5 point favorites, whatever the line's at right now. It's been fluctuating between 7, 7.5. So McCaffrey's going to be an insanely popular target here, as he should be. he completed the trifecta. But Herbert has to be the play on the other side. The one thing about this 49ers defense is that you cannot run on it. Dead last is what they are in terms of what running backs against them are in terms of fantasy points. So running backs just don't get points against San Francisco 49ers defense. You want to beat them, you got to take to the air. The Chargers attempt the most passes per game in the league. Justin Herbert is going to have to do everything on his own here, and I do think that at some point he's going to be put in a situation where he's probably down by a touchdown or more. That's tough if you're a Chargers fan. I think that's great for fantasy purposes. You got Deebo Samuel back on the other side. San Francisco, also Elijah Mitchell. I think there's a good chance that McCaffrey could get held out of the end zone here, just pile up a bunch of yards. I think Herbert, if this game is close at all, could just get there just on massive volume alone. So looking at McCaffrey and Herbert probably as the two best captain spots, but Herbert should have a lot lower ownership, and I like going to him. He's a lot cheaper too.
What about for a bet here, Jeff? You've got Jimmy G, who's talked all week about this offense, the San Francisco offense, now that it's fully loaded and healthy, how much it's going to be an absolute nightmare for the rest of the league.
Yeah, and it's going to be a real nightmare for the Chargers because the Chargers just do not defend against the run well. They've been bottom 3 all year, yards per carry allowed. You've got both running backs healthy now. You've got Deebo Samuel back. I love the overs in this spot. I mean, I have enough respect for Justin Herbert that I would just take the over in the game at 45 points because you look at what the Chargers have done when they've gone up against good offenses on the other side lately, Seattle, Cleveland, like teams that can move the ball on the ground, have a little bit of aerial attack too. These games have pushed well over 50 points. And I think that, Herbert's going to do enough here to come back and get us points on the other side. But the bet I actually really like is San Francisco over 3.5 team touchdowns. You're getting plus 150 on it. Again, everyone's healthy on San Francisco. You've got the Chargers in a road game without their two best wide receivers. This could just be San Francisco putting up 40 points on their own. So I really think that there's good value there. If you go over the 3.5 touchdowns, it's already moved down to plus 145, as you can see. So some other people obviously think that that's a good bet. I'm just very bullish on San Francisco in the spot, as I think everyone is and should be. So.
All right, let's move on to Monday night. Commanders, Eagles.
Ooh, undefeated Eagles.
Yeah. The only undefeated team left. It's crazy.
True.
It's crazy. All right, who are you picking for your captain in this one? I see you're going with Taylor Heineke. He does have 5 touchdown tosses in his first 3 starts. He has also thrown a pick in every one of those games as well.
Yeah, but picks aren't bad for fantasy because that just means our guy probably gets the ball back quick. Sometimes the other team scores a defensive touchdown. So Heineke, very similar spot to Justin Herbert. Jalen Hurts is always a captain's consideration, but he's going to be very popular. He's a lot more expensive than Heineke. There's even a bigger discrepancy in price here between Hurts and Heineke than there was between McCaffrey and Herbert. And, Taylor Heineke averaging 5 rush attempts per game so far. And what have we seen? Yeah, this is really more of just like I think you should go off Jalen Hurts in this game post because Hurts, the Eagles offense been a little bit more spread. Sanders is rushing the ball extremely well. We don't really know where the ball's going with the wide receivers. They're just all good. They pop, it was Goddard last week. It was A.J. Brown the week before. Taylor Heineke is going to have to do a lot in this game. He's going to have to move the ball with his feet. The Eagles will put pressure on him. They're going to run the ball a ton. They're going to put the Commanders down. And I think Heineke is in a really good spot to pay off at 13-5. He'll get some rush yards. He's still got McLaurin on the outside. I think there's a good chance he shows up with 20-plus points here and either matches Hurts or it's just close because of value, because of the price differentiation. So give me Taylor Heineke at 13-5. I think it's a really good captain in this game.
All right, you're looking at Jalen Hurts here for your best bet because back in week 3, guy threw 3 touchdowns against the Commanders. So you're kind of in that props department as well again.
Yeah, we're getting a good price here. Like we're getting plus money to go over Jalen Hurts 1.5 passing touchdowns. And I know I kind of just talked him down in terms of the captain, the DFS stuff, but that's taking price involved there. You've got other options, a guy like Heineke, a lot cheaper. This one is pretty straightforward. Washington has allowed 2 or more passing touchdowns in 5 games. And some of those games where they didn't allow 2 passing touchdowns, you got Sam Ehlinger, Tannehill, Justin Fields on the other side. Jalen Hurts is really, really efficient. He's been efficient with the ball. I just went over all the receiving options he has. And I think that you're seeing Jalen Hurts mature as a quarterback as the season goes on. Those rush attempts going down a little bit because he realizes, I can just throw the ball to Dallas Goedert in this spot. He's going to do the work for me. I think Jalen Hurts at plus money to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns in the spot. It's a great bet. It's a good defense to do it. Again, Washington allowed 16 passing touchdowns already. It's the second most in the league. take that plus money, go over on Hurts.
Yeah, it's 3 straight games, too. He's thrown at least 2 touchdowns in. So,
Yeah.
Jeff
Thank you for the
Ulrich, once
support.
again, you look extremely intelligent this morning. Those were some fantastic picks. We appreciate all of your help. Now we're going to toss over to Steve Buchanan, who looks official.
He looks very official.
Standing at the podium here because now time for a little segment, Roughing the Better.
Woo!
We're going to see what picks should be called back, Steven. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go off, King.
Well, the thing is, like, when you put a man behind a podium, honestly, anything he says is just viewed as gospel at
Yes.
this point. So we're going to go with that here. We're going to go through a couple bets that have been placed here on DraftKings Sportsbook, and I'm just kind of wondering what these people are thinking at this point, okay? Let's start off with this one here. Washington Commanders money line at plus 390, a $2,800 bet. Now, if this comes through, this person is going to be about, $10,000 richer. So here's what I'm not liking, though, right? Now, to be fair, they did make a good decision here. They didn't go with who will be the first Eagles loss, because Washington is placed at plus 350. So you're getting a little bit of value here with your plus 390 money line. But at what point do we think that Philly is actually going to lose this game? The team that is averaging the second most points in the league, 28.1. They get the Washington Commanders. They're just barely averaging over 2 touchdowns per game, 17 points per game. They're allowing over 21 points per game at this point. There's just no stopping any facets of this Eagles offense at all at this point. Their defense has been incredible. Washington is not going to be the team that's going to dethrone the Kings. There's 2 things that are in common right now: undefeated Eagles, undefeated Buchanan. Just remember that when you're placing your bets, okay? Then we got the next one, Houston on the spread, plus 4.5, going up against a very tough New York Giants team at this point. As we talked about earlier, Giants are my favorite play of the week. So obviously I'm not going to like them at plus 4.5. Somebody putting $11,000 on that bet there, okay? We've got Davis Mills. I mean, I think they're going to win this game on the back of Davis Mills. So somebody who's gone under 200 passing yards in half of the games that he's played this year, 4 of those 8 games. Now, like I mentioned, sure, Houston's 4-3-1 against the spread, but they're covering spreads under a touchdown at this rate. So, over a touchdown at this range. 7 points or higher. That's when they're covering. So like when they're double-digit dogs, sure, it's not easy to cover that. They're covering when it's over the touchdown there. So I think this is a great spot for the Giants and this person who put down, $11,000. I mean, people are hungry out in the streets.
That's
I mean,
a lot of money.
We can do a lot of good things for charity. It's almost Christmas time. 'Tis the season to be a little generous. But obviously you're being generous to the DraftKings Sportsbook. So I guess, that keeps me employed. So I guess I appreciate that. On to the next one. There's no way that this person is feeling good about this one. It's only a $200 bet. We don't bet shame here. Hey, if you got $200, fine. You want to use it? I wouldn't have used it on the over 43 points between the Rams and the Cardinals. You can't be happy about what has transpired on the injury report since you probably placed that bet. Kyler Murray not looking like he's going to play. Matthew Stafford not looking like he's going to play. I think the over-under now is down to 40. So you got a horrible number here at this point. I'm really sorry. Like, there's $200. I mean, you could buy like a lot of things. A nice new jacket, that's something you could buy there too. I mean, we've got, like I said, Murray a game time decision. Stafford's questionable at this point. And the Rams, by the way, also been one of the worst teams at hitting the over. They're 2-6 on the year. Do you think on a game where neither quarterback are expected to play that this is when they're going to go to 3-6? $200, huh? Okay. Well, S. Buchanan 24. That's my Venmo. Next time you feel like just getting rid of some money, hit me up. But again, keeping me employed. Let's give it back to Jesse and Emerson.
Yeah. Rams Cardinals, by the way, now 38.5 is the total
Sheesh.
on the
Boy,
DK
oh boy.
Sportsbook. Yeah, you're telling me.
Not
Nice
great.
job.
All right,
Nice
guys,
job, Bucko.
we're going to discuss all the highs and lows to expect today, right after we hear about probably the biggest low of the NFL head coaching carousel this season from the Gojo Show.
There's 2 quotes that stood out to me, and this is a friend of the podcast, Tillman Clark. My boots on the ground in Indy sent these quotes from the press conference over because he knew it'd be great for the podcast. So this one from Jim Irsay about him winning. Look, we're the 4th winningest franchise in the league since 2000. That means in the upper quartile of winners, we're at the top quartile of that upper quartile. Mike, I don't do math good, and I barely do words well. I don't know what he's trying. I don't know what he's trying to say.
Yeah, well, he doesn't understand quartiles either. So the upper quartile would be the top 8 teams of 32, and the top quartile of the top quartile would then be the top 2 teams because 1/4 of 8 is 2. And so him saying they have been the 4th most winning team would actually put them in the second quartile of the top quartile. So
spin zone. Okay, and then this next one, this is really just like a tour in logic, the mathematical equation, logic. I don't know what goes into sausage, but I do know how to build a football team.
This felt like Jim Irsay doing his best impression of that Tommy Boy scene where he's trying to do the butcher's joke. I can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking my head up a bull's ass, but I'd rather take the butcher's word for it. He's the first scene right now where he's trying and failing to do that before lighting a car on fire in someone's office. And like, Brandon, it was like parts of that objectively funny, but it's also very sad because that's a window into a process that did not feel like there was much of a process. And I want to be abundantly clear. None of this to me is an indictment of Jeff Saturday. It really isn't. You can say I'm caping up for a person that I know and a person that I respect, but again, I put any human being in that position and I say, a place that you care about offered you a pretty great position and an opportunity to help that you believe in your heart that you can actually help out with, that you've already in some small way been a part of and been a part of that organization in another leadership role, in a very different leadership role for a majority of your life. I think there are very few people that would turn down that opportunity if it was something that really mattered to them.
Of the show, I'm Jesse, he's Emerson. We got Steve, Josh, and Julian over at the LED. Fellas, need your favorite bets for teams to have the highest and lowest scores, weekly specials, highest, lowest team, whatever, do your thing. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Jesse.
Yeah.
Very quick. Lowest scoring team of the week. I am not getting fancy. Colts plus 900. That offense is broken. Highest scoring team of the week. I will get a little fancy. 49ers plus 850. Like Jeff said, with all those touchdowns, I think the Niners can put up a lot of points on the Chargers.
You can also do the highest and lowest scoring game. I'm going to go with the highest scoring game. I'm doing whatever I want.
Okay.
I'm going with the Bears and the Lions here. That Lions defense has obviously been one of the worst in the leagues. Chicago, the offense has been unlocked here. I think that's a good one there. Plus 550 for that to be the highest scoring game of the week.
My numbers were both higher.
Okay.
I'm with Steve on this one. I'm going to go with Mr. Undefeated. Justin Fields is putting up numbers. Maybe that game against
Not
the
undefeated
Patriots,
on weekly specials.
gave him a lot of confidence here, but Steve's right. They're averaging 31 points a game. Lions are giving up the most points in the league. By the way, pro tip, if you're on a family vacation at the end of the trip, go around the table, ask highs and lows with family vacation. Something my family's been doing.
That's great.
Yeah, like your rose and your thorn.
Yeah. Don't forget to bring up politics, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My low today was Steve's comedy segment.
I would say
I thought you were pretty.
Well, that's going to be back next week, Julian. Yeah, that'll be back next week.
I'm not here next week.
So exciting.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, that's going to do it for our Week 10 edition of The Sweat. Man, that was
that's
fun.
it.
Yeah,
that was a blast. We'll see everyone back here in studio tomorrow morning, right? 11
Yep.
o'clock Eastern. Are you
11
here?
Nope.
Okay. I will see everyone tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time in studio for The Sweat.
Just a little wink.
Wink.
Okay, bye, everybody.